All right, let's talk about Chase Young, an incredibly interesting player to talk about. Just signed a big deal with the New Orleans Saints. If we want to look at his PFF grades year in and year out, you see it has essentially a downward slope as 2020, he was amazing as a rookie. Keep in mind, he was a second overall pick, and he was considered like a better prospect than Nick Bosa. Like, he was like up there with Myles Garrett in terms of prospects. Since that great rookie year, though, he just has not been that guy. If you trust these stats, you see that he's been kind of in the mid-70s with Washington and San Francisco, and then with the Saints, according to them, he actually had his worst season. But even those stats aren't necessarily horrible, right? Like, that's still a fine player, even if it's not superstar level. Although the one other thing I'll mention before we get into the film, you have to also take into account the playing time in 2021 and in 2022. Was barely on the field, and he's gotten injured a bunch, and you almost have to wonder, is part of the reason his play dipped because of how many injuries he's had early on in his career. But anyway, back to the film. You see where he is on the field on this play. Let's start off with his run defense, which I would say, I think he's a good run defender. Even if PFF wasn't crazy about his run defense last year, they feel like he's been a pretty good run defender over the course of his career, and from what I've watched, I agree. See this play, he's going up one-on-one against a tight end. When this play begins, he does a pretty good job at being able to be in position to make a tackle if the running back goes in either direction of where he is, and that's what's going to happen. Running back's going to run towards our left, so towards Chase Young's left right there, and watch what Young does. Young kind of throws the tight end into the running back and helps, slow him down enough that, I guess, hey, you don't get credit for a tackle if you do it that way because you're not the one who made the tackle, but he definitely made the play, gets the run stop. He can definitely be an effective player here, which is, I think, part of what they like about him. Like, this one's another one. He is, again, going up one-on-one against a tight end, so it's not the toughest play in the world, but hey, in the run blocking, you're going to have tight ends sometimes block edge rushers, and if you're that edge rusher, it's kind of your job on this play to take advantage, right? Well, you see when this play begins, again, you see for Chase Young really doing a good job here of using his hands to try and get some separation and get closer towards the inside. So then when he does move in, he is able to get forward and make the tackle on the running backs. So again, very good run stopper, I would say, especially when you put him in a situation like this where he gets a favorable matchup. He is capable of taking advantage of those types of things. Absolutely. Although let's go over here, because let's be honest, how much do we really care about run defense? A little bit, sure, yeah, it matters, but we want to see edge rushers who can rush the passer. Those are the guys who people buy jerseys of. Those are the guys who, are on the promo for the game, all that stuff. So for Chase Young, he's going up one-on-one against a left tackle right here, and to be honest, I think this is why some people have really soured on him as a player is he doesn't always win in these situations. Okay, on this play, you're going to see one of his worst reps you'll see. Again, that's not what he's doing every play, but the reality is there are, he doesn't have a ton of stats, right? He's not getting a ton of sacks consistently, and I think that's definitely something that's going to have people feel as though he's maybe not quite as good as maybe he actually is. I think even in his rookie year, when he did have that really good, PFF grade, he had some other really good advanced statistics, only 7.5 sacks that year. He might just be one of those guys who doesn't, might generate pressure without getting sacks. And you do see that on tape. Like, for example, this play, so it's once again going to be a one-on-one matchup. He's going to be on the left side of the screen. He's going to be going up one-on-one against the left tackle right here in goal line situations. So that definitely is going to play into this as Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback, going to make sure he does not, take a safety here. And as you see, so Chase Young isn't going to win this rep, really. I mean, the ball comes out early enough that he can't make the play, nearly gets intercepted. But at the same time, he did perhaps cause Aiden O'Connell to have to get rid of that ball quickly, especially when you're standing in your own end zone and don't want to take a safety, because Chase Young did generate some pressures. So again, like, if I'm a PFF grader, I don't know exactly how I grade that. I don't think I would consider it a pressure, but it does feel like it impacted the play, right? So this is where things can get a little bit tricky when we're trying to use numbers to evaluate pass rushers, and why ultimately, while I still do like advanced stats and I think you should pay attention to analytics, you also can't help but feel like this is why you have to watch tape of players too, because you can spot little things such as this that maybe you couldn't spot elsewhere. And again, a play like this where it's, again, one-on-one matchup. And this is Colton Miller, who he's going up against. Colton Miller is a good tackle for the Raiders. So this is not some scrub that he's going up against. First, when this play begins, again, you're going to see Chase Young use his hands. Colton Miller's a left tackle, so his left hand is always going to be so important. But you see how Young has his own right hand on the wrist of Miller's left arm, so on Miller's left wrist. And watch what he does with it. He knocks that hand free and then is able to get forward, and he doesn't quite make the sack, but does, again, help disrupt the play. Aiden O'Connell actually did a pretty good job at making a play happen anyway, but still, good job by Chase Young to disrupt it. So, yeah, ultimately, it's not a perfect film study when you watch Chase Young, but it's far from a bad one either. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So in conclusion, what's to make of this deal? Again, it is not a small deal. It's also not a blockbuster signing either for the Saints, who, again, I think people look at the price tags on some of these contracts and think $15 million, that's like superstar money. That's what Tom Brady used to make. It's a lot has changed as time has gone on. The cap continues to get bigger, so it's not that crazy of a contract. And while I know some people are saying, shouldn't the Saints be just blowing it up and rebuilding? Well, they still should be signing some contracts. Again, the cap can be manipulated. It can make some contracts more difficult, but it can be manipulated, and the Saints do that, obviously, a lot. Would it benefit them to have maybe a rebuilding year? I think an argument can be made, but you can have a rebuilding year and also not sign nobody. Like, ultimately, regardless of where you think the Saints are currently at, Chase Young is 25 years old currently. He could play for another 10 years. That's not out of the question. Hopefully, if you're a Saints fan, they will be good in the next 10 years and will be able to, at least have something happen. So the idea that this is just a, why are you making any moves to help out your roster? Again, your goal is not to be mediocre forever. Your goal is to be better than that. And I don't know, maybe they view their roster as better than some other people view it, which might sound a little bit surprising, but I don't think it's crazy, right? I mean, they did get off to a really hot start. Derek Carr getting injured hurt. Like, he's going to be back next year. For all his faults, he's still a very good quarterback. I don't know. I think that I understand this move. I don't think it's a bad move to sign a effective player who's 25 years old, even if you're not competing for Super Bowls right now. But that's just how I see all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of that video. I do appreciate it. If you want to see my other channel, Jackson Kruger Movies, where I talk about movies, give some film reviews and stuff like that of a different kind, if that seems like your kind of thing, the link is in the description below for that, as is the link for my Twitter account. I'm at Jackson Kruger, so give me a follow on there if that's your kind of thing. And also, of course, remember to hit the subscribe button on this channel. I do always appreciate it. And thanks again for watching to the end of the video.